Okay, hello everyone. We are Datapodchat, and I am Cornelius. I'm from Indonesia, and I'm a data scientist from Allianz Life Indonesia. And currently, I'm with my friend here, Give. Hello, Give.
Yeah, so I'm Gifts. I'm from Africa, Lagos, Nigeria to be precise. I am a data scientist and the co-organizer and community lead for Data First Africa. Yeah, so nice to have Matt Blasa here.
Hi, nice to meet you, all of you.
Nice to meet you, Matt.
Yeah, just to introduce myself, I'm Matt Blasa. I'm a data scientist. I work currently for Home Depot. Also, mostly in another role as Aspire Analytics as a consultant data scientist. Been in the data field for 3 to 4 years and really focused on a lot of just trying to focus on data quality and data governance for machine learning, which is one of my passions.
Pretty cool, yeah. So yeah, as you already know, right, guys, Matthew is going to be our guest speaker for today's episode. And then we are going to talk about structured data career that leading to a job. So as you know, like Matthew already introduced himself, and he really one of the guy that we could talk about. And he is already have tried a lot of things. And if I read your biography, you already switching career 3 times. When I read it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting story. I don't know if we have enough time for the podcast, right. But three switches.
Yeah,
three switches.
Know all about going to having one career to another and make you even the listener to get your career in that job, or at the very least on the pointer. So we are trying to a little bit start it. So we want to know a little bit, Matthew. So how do you actually start your career in the data field? So how is it?
Yeah, so I mean, my career wasn't like a straight path. It was very, how do I say this? A very winding path. So I started out after leaving the military doing marketing because I really like marketing. I really like how to, market to people and to try and get them to buy. But what I found out was just when I was in marketing, I was just always asking myself, why is this something this way? It was always why? And then the followed by why was, how can I improve this? So why led to, okay, I'm going to be a marketing analyst. I'm going to understand how these work and how these campaigns work. Then it led to, hey, is there a better way that I can market to these people? And is there a better way I can predict future trends? So, I mean, that led to me when I was in the university, just studying math. So that was trying to find ways to better optimize for it, better ways to try to understand the data, better ways to try and identify key customer groups, customer segmentation, distinct customer groups, which turns out to be a lot harder than it actually is because there's so many dimensions to it. So that's mostly how I did it. It was just a complete asking of why. If you can sum up my career, it's best summed up as curiosity, just curiosity, asking why and looking for more efficient stuff. And I have to say that's a lot because of the math background I had.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, why? This is always the question that we ask, and it's always a sign of
the fun fact is careers in general don't have a definite path, I think, for everyone. I don't know how, depending, I think it's for everyone, especially in the data science field where there are a lot of changes, where you have field like analytics engineering, maybe your job description, last 2 years is different from the current job description because what you are doing is the need at that point for the company is actually different. There is no definite path to something. You can someone can be a data scientist at this also place today, and the next company you work as maybe a data engineer just because you need to get things done, or you get that's really nice and good to know.
Yeah, and it's not always a straight path. Sometimes it's because the company doesn't know exactly how to define it. And that's an actual problem with HR and a lot of leadership. So when I was doing stuff with Tula or in other places, when I was doing marketing analysis, some of the statistical stuff I'm doing was data scientist stuff. It's just back into 2015, 2014. Some of these companies didn't know what is that? What's a data scientist or what's a data engineer? They didn't have a term for it. So you were just grouped under an umbrella of data analyst or statistician, really depending on what was going on. So it was never, I would say that's even going on now. Like you're even getting breakups. Like analytics engineer was not something you heard of 2-3 years ago. It's a very recent thing. And it's becoming more defined. It's someone who's not quite a data engineer, not a data scientist, but is focused more on, people would argue with me with this, but focus more on like the visualization, doing the analytics from like the data sources and the SQL queries to enable the analytics, which is completely different than a data engineer who's pulling data from like a source or multiple sources. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where like the modern data stack comes in, something like that.
Yes, like even in the career right now, I already moving out and moving out. Even in the startup that I was working before and in the career in corporate, I working before, I have the same title, but I have like a really different job, but it's still the same title. Like it's really depend on what the company want, what you want to do, what is the things that actually get you the job. So how this actually for you, Matthew, that you are already get for your first data job? So because like there's a lot of title, you already talked like before that in 2014, 2015, you're already doing these statistician things. Is it like the thing that get you the job in your first data job, or is like something else?
Well, for the first data job, it's mostly boils down to marketing it. I know people who have gone a lot far, who have a lot more statistical knowledge than me and all this other stuff, but it boils down to that they don't know how to market it. And they don't know how to express like the business value. It's all great and well that you did k-means or you know how to do different types of regression or Poisson regression, but if you don't know how to explain it, then it's all hieroglyphics to the people who are the business users who are doing it. You have three, whenever you're going through like any kind of business job, doesn't matter. I found this out in all countries. It's always three people you're going through. It's the HR, the / recruiter. They might be the same, the hiring manager, and then the hiring manager's manager. So the HR you have to get through the HR. So that means you have to market, you have to put it into terms that are business that match not only the job description, but they feel can actually, how do I put this? Generate like revenue for the business and also generate like value for the business. So you have to get through them first. And then when you get through the hiring manager, that hiring manager may or may not be technical. I've seen it more than once. So you have to do you not only have to do the same thing, but if it's a technical hiring manager, show that not only that you're good enough to do that, you're good enough and you can upscale as needed. Because sometimes, and I've seen this, like you can like do recommendation engines, but the recommendation engines you did in your previous job might be completely different than the recommendation engines you're doing in this job. What they're more concerned with is being able to upscale. And then the third person you got to worry about is the hiring manager's manager. That guy or person or girl or whatever. That person is usually the person who approves that budget, that salary for you. So the hiring manager needs to have a set of points that they can sell you to them, which is something that's not often talked about. So that's why I always say, like, when you're writing out a resume, put like the business cases, but also talk about the technology you used and how you used it, because that's not only a selling point to justify it to HR, it's a selling point to justify it to the manager who is ultimately approving your salary when you get in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I second that. I think from what you explained, communication is very important, like in all aspects. Like communication is very important. Communicating effectively can determine if you get a job or lose a job. You might be good on the technical side, like very, very good on the technical side, but inability for someone to like communicate effectively can make it seem like you are not that good as what you claim. Yeah. So, and I think like personal branding too is also very important. Like you said, like trying to like brand yourself that this job, like you are the one for this job or something. Yeah. So I really get that.
Yeah. And the branding really helps, like filters people out. Like people are like, so why do you need a brand? Well, I mean, of course you need a brand so that you can get the attention or the marketing needed to like define you. But the other aspect of the definition is it helps filter out jobs that are not suited for you. I mean, we've all gotten like LinkedIn email messages about, hey, you want to be this? And you look at them and you look at it and you're like, wait, this isn't it. I mean, you're always going to get that, but at least if you're building out your brand, at least you will attract the people who you're supposed to be with, the places that you can stay with for a long time, and also filter out all those people who are just looking for someone who can do the work of a team instead of like someone who can do the work of a team instead of just like they need to have a team. So it's a good branding is a great way of filtering people out and potential employers out. Yeah,
I pretty agree because like here also I think also give right. We already have like tried to have branding in here in there, and then this is actually the start of my career is actually because I'm also branding myself first. I brand myself as a data scientist that I know what I stuff do, I know what I could do, and then people start to coming with to me and recruiter here and there. As you said, like a lot of people just this position for marketing or position for this and position for that, but yeah, it's not for me. But at the first, that's the part of branding. I really agree with you. But even with the branding, even we are doing this and that, I know like for some of a new student or like a fresh graduate or even people who want to switch career, it's kind of hard to actually secure that job or even like just that recruiter to coming to you. So I don't know about the situation in the US because like it's in Indonesia in here is pretty hard because like the data culture is not as strong as in the outside. I think like we are still like in the behind. So that's why in the technology stack, we are still a little bit behind. I'm not saying that we are really behind, but a little bit behind. So that's why not many, so it's like the supply and demand is like a little bit not consistent. But how about in the US? So for like in the US, the situation for is it like really hard to get a data job?
It's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. There's quite a bit of competition for it. I wouldn't. It's hard to say like competition wise because certain jobs have more competition than others, and it's really hard to like determine. Like if you say data analyst, I can't really like define that specifically because there's so many different types of data analysts. I mean. And I haven't been a data analyst for years. So, I mean, years ago when I was still doing data analyst, it'd be a mix, honestly. So, I mean, some places like marketing analysts, you're never running out of marketing analysts. Sales analysts, you're never running out of those guys because you always need someone to do the sales. Now, if you were doing like a senior data analyst or someone who's focused more on engineering, that might also be frequently, but like the line data analyst, the competition might be like fierce. So, I mean, it really, really depends on the type of data analyst and it really depends on the industry. In some industries, it's competitive as heck. But yeah, I mean, but as far as like trying to get that data job when you're fresh out of school, I mean, something I learned from a few people I've talked to is that when you're writing your resume, you should be writing it for the job that you want, not writing it for the job that not writing out like job descriptions, because a lot of resumes read out like job descriptions. Like for some people, they list like exactly what they did. Listing is okay, but it's how you list. And what I mean by that is you have to list it out in a way that shows your potential. So what can the employer if the employer hires you, what can they grow with you? Can you grow with the company? And also, can you like deliver long-term in the future? That's what they're looking for. If you're just listing it out just like as tasks, it's not really, how do I say that? It's not really like appealing to them. You have to still appeal to like what the potential is. For the United States or for the Western countries, I found I found out that you also have to inject a little bit of your personality. So I mean, I don't mean like say, hey, I garden on the weekends sort of thing. It's more of like, hey, this is what kind of person I am as a data scientist or a data analyst or a data engineer, and really inject that into your resume, like value state, like with an executive statement. Outside the US, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't worked outside the US other than those few other times I have. But in that case, still outside the US, you still got to focus on like the value statement, regardless of where you are in the world. You still have to focus on like the potential and what you can deliver in the long run if they take you.
Would you agree?
I think like that's very important because I will summarize it like this, that you need to understand your local markets before you apply for a job, because the data scientists in the US, like their expectations as a person is different from data scientists in London. Like the expectation, a lot like companies have culture. So I think you need to, for example, maybe in the US, maybe a lot of like in the visualization part, you see like data scientists using Tableau for visualization, but like other parts in Africa, like they use Power BI a lot. So
Yes.
Coming into this field, yeah. So coming into this field, you need to understand that because you see people doing a lot of tutorial on Tableau does not mean you should learn Tableau at that moment.
Correct.
Because in your environment at that point, like they need people with Power BI skills, like people with Power BI skills. So you won't learn Tableau. Not that learning Tableau is not good. So you won't learn Tableau at that point in time, and now you are feeling like you've not done enough and you don't have a job. But at this point, like learn Power BI, then you can have some understanding on Tableau. But just specialize more on Power BI because it will get you the job faster. So understanding your local market is very important, I think. Yeah.
Yep. And it's very important, not just for the resume. And like you said, Gift, it's also very important for the tech use, because some tech, like the Microsoft tech, has a cheaper price point internationally than, say, the US. I mean, with the US, it's just like, hey, Tableau, Looker, all the other stuff. There's more of a availability. And in some countries, it's just simply that that technology isn't there simply because they don't want to like go through the legal process or the copyright rights or sell it, because it's a headache for them.
Yeah. I think like I could try understand that as well. And in here, like in Indonesia situation, so there's like a lot of various tools, tech stack that we are still testing it out, which of the company that usually is Python, of course, like, and there's the Tableau in there, but in each company they have like their own stacks. But of course, like every like a fresher, every new career in the here, or even like already experienced, want to show off like what they are capable of. Even like data science, not just data science, but data skill is like cannot be shown just like by your one resume, right? So it's like you're just listing it out, or even like just explain it through your experience. But you need to like have something like this kind of portfolio. So do you think like it's really important, Matt, or do you, like we have a data portfolio like in this for applying this kind of data job?
Yeah, and I think like Matt he said something, talked about learning how to learn is very important. Like upskilling is very important, because as much as you get the job, you knowing how to like upskill yourself and build yourself in that same role, as much as you are delivering and providing value. Also, like take time to build yourself. It's very important in tech in general. It's also very important in data science, because there are a lot of changes in data science here today. Yeah, there are a lot of tools and a lot of things that you be like, you can't actually learn a lot of them, like learn all of them, because no matter how smart you are, technology will leave you behind in some parts. So you just have to know the part to like pick and just learn at that point in time and provide value.
Yeah. And I mean, that even still goes even when you're in management. I mean, I'm not in a management role, but when I was in marketing and I was a manager, that was something you always learn. Like, it's not necessary at that level for you to like say, oh, well, I need a code, but it's at the very least, you need to be able to understand the technology and the potential of the technology. And so even at all levels, whether you're an individual contributor who's just like coding away on the side, or you're a manager who's, trying to like make sure that you can maximize like your team's productivity, you still need to keep learning. There's no way around that. If you're not, then you're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck in the long run. And I've seen that in software, and the same applies for data science.
I guess, I agree. And because like there's a lot of tech stack that we are need to choose, and then just to think about. So what do you actually Matt? Why do you choose like the tech stack that you choose right now for the data science, or for like for the other job, like for data engineering or for data analysis? So is there any for the reason in there?
Yeah, so I'm an Azure guy. So I'm heavy Azure, heavy Google, like more on the Azure side. It's just because when I got into data science, I started out with Azure, and I'm sticking with Azure. So I figured that's what I figured. So Azure, Databricks, anything in the Microsoft stack, and then a little bit of Google stuff. So I mean, that's how it is. I mean, it's not people think so. Well, I need to learn Azure. I need to learn Google. I need to learn Amazon, or Snowflake. Well, no. I mean, honestly, you need to just be good at one and then have another one as a supplement. If you're good at one, you're going to still have an advantage, because the concepts that you still have in Azure or in GCP or in AWS, they all have different names, but it's the same kind of thinking in a different way, and they have just different architecture. So it's not necessary, and I feel like this is just a personal point for me, to like go like stack yourself like with 3 or 4 different certifications from 3 or 4 different areas when you can just stack on 1 or 2? Because at that point, there is something that comes up in some interviews where it's like, okay, you have 3 from here. That's great. But what do you really know how to do? And there's that very much of that jack of all trades, master of none dynamic that does pop up sometimes. And I found popped up before when I interviewed. So, I mean, really specialize not only in the tech that you're doing, but really specialize in understanding the core concept behind it. I mean, stuff in your Microsoft and all this other stuff or wherever you're doing is going to change. The surface changes, but the core concepts, like for the cloud computing, data science, it stays the same. So just keep rehearsing the fundamentals. And that's the one thing I've found that's really key to the success I've had so far.
Yeah, like I think what you said like is very true, because it's just like the top might change, but the basics still remain the same. Like you get, like everything is built on the fundamentals. Like everything is built on the fundamentals. Yeah, just like for loop is always for loop everywhere. Like the idea behind for loop is for loop. The idea behind if else statement is if else statement. So things like that, I really get what you're trying to say. And like in my summary, I think I would like to ask, is it good to be a generalist or is it good to be a specialist? Because I think my own idea I believe in is should be a jack of all trade and a master of some. I won't really say master of all, I would say master of some, because sometimes I feel like being a specialist to some point, like this thing is not so balanced. Like I've been wrapping my head up around this for some time, and I'd just like to get that clear. What's your thought on in the data science field, like trying to be a generalist and trying to be a specialist, where we know that a lot of teams, especially startup, for instance, don't have a definite way of doing things. They expect you to have an idea of a lot of things. Now, imagine someone knowing how to use maybe Power BI so well. Let me use another. Imagine someone knowing how to use like maybe Azure so well. I know it's like different, like the same techniques, and you get to a company and they are just on AWS at this point. They need someone that can use AWS. Like if you're not good at AWS, no, they don't want that person. So things like that. Like, what's your thought on that?
So, I mean, I agree with you, actually. It's jack of all trades, master of some. I call it a hybrid approach. So if you're too generalist, it is exactly what you said, Gif. If you're too generalist, you learn nothing. You learn absolutely nothing. But if you're too specialized, you box yourself. I've done that myself in marketing. But what you just said brought up a point. I mean, it goes like this. With a hybrid system, you find something that's the core technology you use. For me, it's Azure. For some people, it's AWS. Some people's GCP. You find the core and you focus most of your learning efforts on it. But at the same time, you also familiarize yourself. You don't have to code, but you familiarize yourself with how that's applied in the other stacks like AWS, or in my case in GCP. Like, look at how it does. Like, how do they do it? What exists in another part? So like Data Factory in Azure has its own complement in GCP, and also has its own complement in Amazon on AWS. So those do exist. The point is that stick to a central core stack, but understand the concepts and also understand the parallel technologies. I didn't, like, when I started doing GCP, I had no idea what GCP was, but I understood enough of the core concepts from Azure that when I interviewed, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I understand these concepts. So that's how GCP does it. And if you're able to understand the core concept, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Amazon Glue or Azure Data Factory or something. If you understand the core concepts behind what you're doing, that's more important than like what the tech stack is, because these tech stacks are all different simply because it's just different companies and they have different names for it, because it's branding. I mean, the best way to put it is, it's branding in the end. But like you said, you have to have a core. Like, I agree with you. It has to be a core with a generalist sense around it so that you can see the bigger picture. And the generalist part is important because you have to see the big picture, because if you're too specialized, you're going to silo yourself.
I can guess like it's like consumerized. It's like a T-shaped learning, right, Matthew? So it's like you have like a general part and then with just like one really strong core in there. So it's just like not just like skill that you actually also have, like not just in the cloud system, of course, right? Like in the African of machine learning, of statistic or something. So because like I know like in data science world as well, like there's some people who specialize in the NLP, but they actually know in general. They're specialists in the deep learning, but they're not in the general. So it's like something that you need to have like a really strong core, but you still know all the concept. So I think that it's really good advice to apply for all. But is it like something that you're already thinking as well, Matthew, when you are in the beginner, in the start of your career as well, when you are like, this is really something that I really need to do like as a general and then going to specialist, or it's just like go all out?
So as a beginner, you should start from a generalist. Just explore the heck out of everything. Like the one thing where I'm still narrowing stuff down, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure like what I want. I have a better idea, but when you're a beginner, just experiment, like play around with things, try and understand, listen, and really listen to yourself. Sometimes like when you touch certain things, you're like, do I like it? Do I not like it? And really listen to that. Does it make me on fire? Does this make me push it away? Like I like certain aspects of data engineering, but I won't be a data engineer because I tried doing it. It wasn't me. Same with software engineer. And that's just me. It's not, it's bad. So and I learned that early on in my career. So, I mean, when you're new, try everything out, like see what really fits for you. Once you find a little bit of an interest, try to refine that interest. Because at that point, let's say I started out like data engineer, data scientist, figure out which one. So I found out, okay, I like data scientists more. Then from there, you got to figure out, okay, what aspect of it do you like? So that aspect can be like certain algorithms you like using. Some people like using k-means for whatever reason, but it's them. Or certain like fields, like I would never be working with like HR analytics. I know how to do it, but I won't be doing people analytics because it's not my interest. So constantly refine. This whole business is constantly refining down your interests and your passions, because in the end, that interest, that passion, that curiosity, that's going to keep you in a career longer than say, oh, I'm going to go after the most latest thing, because it's easy to burn out in this if you're not like interested in what you do.
Sure. Like, I think like the summary of what I got from what you explained, Matt, I think is more of just find your strengths and just focus on your strength, right? Yeah, because it's very important. Like, no matter how good you are, I think everyone has like a weakness, actually. There's something that they are not so good at. So, for example, now, if you are coming into the field and you are focusing on your weakness and you are complaining, you are going to an interview and not getting a job. Like, I think you just find your strength and just focus on that strength, because everybody have like their strengths. Yeah. So explore first of all, then like observe and notice your strengths and focus on that strength. Yeah. So because that's what differentiates you from others. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Gif. And I always tell people, I like tell the people I'm mentoring, like the two people I'm mentoring, I always tell them, look, you need to look once in a while, you need to stop, put things down, and really think about like what's important to you. Because in the end, what's important to you, what your strength, what your weakness is, that's going to help you in the longer run. And being able to reflect on what you're doing right and wrong is going to help you in the longer run than if you just say, well, I'm going to go chase the latest trend, or I'm just going to chase everything in general. So, I mean, even if you are doing data ingestion in one way, there's more than one way to ingest data. So find the way that works for you, find the way that you can consistently hit, and find the thing that, you know, makes you happy. And that's the one thing I keep telling people, I keep telling my mentees.
That's pretty good advice. Yeah, I mean, like it's also something that happened to a lot of my mentees before. Like they try it out for the data, right? So I mean, like technology, I already said to them before, like a lot of people, like not everyone may be suitable for a technology, even like a tech work. There's like a programming like Python or R or something like that. Not everyone's suitable for that. You could try it out. You could try it out as long as you want, as you're happy. But maybe some of you might not find it enjoyable. Some of you might find it like dreadful. Like I know like a lot of people quit when I was in a student before, like in my MP before, they are quit in the middle of the way in the middle of training, or even like almost in the end, like they already tried to already create some kind of a data science project, but they doesn't feel it. Doesn't feel it. I mean, like I know like the salary is big, like the promise is like there everywhere, but if you don't make it for yourself, then it's like how do you make a career again? Yeah, in the long run. Something like that.
Yeah, I think one of the problems today is a lot of people trying to come into the field and trying to get a job in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. Like I think that's why a lot of people don't want to explore. And at the end of the day, they just discovered that they've they've run around learning a lot of things, and at the end of the day, they don't know anything. Like they don't really know like where they are heading to, because their aim was just, okay, let me just cover a lot of things and just get a job. Because like on Twitter, on LinkedIn, you see some people like some post about how to get a job in like how to get a data job in like 3 weeks, how to get a data job in like 6 months. Thereby the reality of people is different. Like my reality is different from your reality. So if I'm putting my timeline, like measuring my timeline based on someone else's timeline, there's a tendency that I'll miss it. So I should measure my timeline based on my timeline, not someone else's timeline. It doesn't always mean you are not doing something right. It's just that
Correct.
my timeline is different from your timeline. Maybe the person might get into the field and maybe just learning few things, and the person is just lucky to see like maybe an application that is just applying on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and he got a job like just in 3 months. But your case might not be like that. You get so things like the timeline of people is different. Yeah. So
yeah, and I mean your timeline might not even be like exactly straight either. So like, I mean, and it depends on the occupation. Like some more like data intensive, like data engineering jobs, like though the timeline for that is longer than, let's say, a data analyst, because and even then it depends what kind of data analyst you're doing. So, I mean, the best thing I've always told people was that, don't set yourself a specific timeline, set like goals, and then set times that you would like to hit it. Because if you're saying, well, I need to hit it in 6 months, there's a difference between need and I would like to hit it in 6 months. If you say need, you're going to force yourself and you're going to miss a whole bunch of important things along the way. But if you say, well, I need to understand like some specific SMART goals in 6 months, and you still go past 6 months, then you can say, well, I want to, I'm sorry. When you say you want to, then you can look at yourself and self-reflect and say, well, okay, I hit these goals, but I didn't hit these. Well, I'm doing a good job. And you have a good sense of progress. When you say I need, then at that point, when you hit the 6 months, you're going to criticize yourself for any kind of little like stuff you didn't hit, if you didn't hit it exactly or even exceed it.
Yeah, I think the summary of that is just like you should try not to be a perfectionist, right? Yeah, so I think like that's very important.
Yeah, try to explore it on your own and just try to have fun. Yeah, basically, yeah, just to try to have fun. But do you have fun before, Matthew, when you are learning in the beginning?
Really depends. Some days I just want to. Some days, honestly, it's the same thing when I was like doing math. So math, half the time you want to burn the book. I used to tell people. It's like, if you don't want to burn the book, or if you don't want to like throw the computer out the window, you're not doing it right. There has to be a certain level of frustration. And there's frustration because there's frustration. I define it as 2 types of frustration. There's fun frustration and then toxic frustration. Fun frustration is like, gosh, I really friggin' hate this crap, but I want to do this more. And then toxic frustration, it's like, I don't want to do this crap. I don't like myself and I hate this. So it's 2 different things. And they're not always because the subject is hard. Sometimes it's because it's not taught well, or the material you're not learning from is correct. So when you're hitting frustrations, always like try and look at different ways that you can learn at different angles, look at different people, because people, even when they teach you YouTube videos, books, or anything, that's just their one perspective. Like how I would teach like data science would be different than Cornelius or you, Gift, because we have different perspectives, we have different environments, and that might not be understandable to whoever's looking at it. So if all 3 of us wrote 3 different O'Reilly books, I hope we do someday. But but it would be completely different. We would come from a different perspective, and different people would like it, and some people wouldn't.
Yeah, every experience is different. So how about you, Gibbs? Do you have a fun when you are learning as well?
Yeah, like that's like you mean like, do I have fun while learning?
Yeah, do you have fun as well?
Yeah, I'll say like recently, I think I've started having fun while learning, because I try to do a lot of things I enjoy. Unlike before that, I'm just like burying my head on just learning alone. But now I just try, like what we are doing right here now is we are learning, actually, like having a conversation. We are learning, yes, things like that. I just do public work and stuff that I enjoy doing. Yeah, so that's how I have fun.
Yeah, I mean, like this is like all the learning experience. Yeah, we talking with Matthew, we are talking with, I'm talking with Gift. So it's all the learning experience that we are achieve. So with all this conversation that we already have, like I could try to summarize that, like just try to have fun when you are learning, when you are a fresher or even you are new in the field. Just try to have fun. Try to strong your core. Just try to make a personality in your resume, and just try to make everything structured as possible, but still have fun in your stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And I mean, and sometimes you do have things to hit. I mean, it's never going to change whether you're in a job or you're in school. You're going to have like deadlines to hit and things to hit.
Mhm.
The key isn't like, well, oh crap, I got a deadline, I got a thing that I have to hit or I have to learn. It's like, well, okay, you have to, but you can choose how to hit it. Are you going to choose to hit it efficiently, or are you going to choose to do it in a way that, you know, gets it done and you can learn something in the process? So it's all in the mindset, really. That's how I feel about it.
Mhm. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
change of mindset is really important. Yeah, I was like sometimes having just a little bit change of mindset, and then suddenly, okay, I'm energized again. But then suddenly, when I change a little bit mindset, okay, I'm so lazy right now. Maybe just tomorrow, or just like 1 week, or just procrastination.
Which becomes 2 weeks.
It's
Which
got 2
becomes 2
weeks,
weeks.
1 month, and then you're delayed like for a year. That's why the data science for 3 months becomes 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's. I mean, like it's just like just enjoy the journey, I guess, right? So, how is it? Anything else that you want to talk about? Give.
Yeah, like I think like the question I'll drop from my hand, I think I'll just say, like Matt, can you like give a definite roadmap to someone trying to like a structure, like a definite roadmap to someone trying to like learn data science, like maybe like I see stuff like maybe ML of Zoom camp, ML Zoom camp by Alexi or stuff like that, or maybe can you learn to like maybe data camp, or like my time I learned to like Andro and G, but it's pretty different now. Like maybe can you just like set a definite roadmap, maybe like start with Python for data analytics, then data science first. I've like just try to write like blogs to get more understanding on data science. Like can you just like what's your thought on that?
I mean, it's definitely important that you need to like set out what you know from the beginning. It's like Sun Tzu's Art of War says, like he who goes to battle trying to win is going to lose. He who wins before going to battle is going to win. I mean, that's how it's structured. So I mean, yes, you still have to like identify what you're doing, like the Python, the SQL, or if you're an R person, the R, all these other stuff. You need to identify the tech stack that you're going through and identify like what ideal role that you want to go after. After that, I mean, after that is really trying to drill the fundamentals. I mean, for Python and for SQL, I spent like at least a year like trying to drill that thing. And I'm still drilling it, to be honest. I still don't remember everything. But it's looking at the fundamental. Your first 2 years is just whacking away at the fundamentals. It's just and trying to apply it. So I mean, first 6 months is trying to understand it, what even it means. And then the next year and a half is just trying to apply all that stuff to actual cases. And I would also say a third part that's not often touched on enough in data science is like, how do you use it? So one of the biggest mistakes I made when I was first learning SQL and Python was I was just like, oh, this is going to be pure code, man. I'm just going to code. There's nothing around it. I'm not going to communicate with nobody. I'm just going to be some dude in the back just writing queries.
Yeah, that's like an app or something like that.
Yeah. But the reality is you need to know the use cases. You need to know like how it answers a business questions. You need to know like how to communicate that, because I did this. Oh my gosh, I did this. I said R squared in a business meeting when I was building out a model, and the business people just totally shut down. You have to be able to exactly. But you have to translate it into terms they understand and into business like impact that they understand, and know how to frame it, how that is. And that's, I think, the third point about the use cases and being able to communicate. That's just as important, if not more important, than just learning the fundamentals and like being patient with yourself.
Yes, that's the word. Yeah, I mean, like it's something that really rarely tough. I don't know why. In many of education, just what is the business? What do you do with your data science thing? What do you do with your model? What do you do with this? You know all the technical, you all know all this stuff, the fancy stuff, but how do you actually translate to the business? How do you actually make it work into the business? What is it applied? So I really agree with you, Matthew, in that. Yeah, it's something that you need to do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
complicated code doesn't always mean smart code. I will put that right now. You can write a 1,000 or 2,000 line SQL query that doesn't mean it's efficient. You could do it in half that sometimes, or even a quarter of that. So complex code doesn't mean intelligence. Efficient code that is more important.
Yeah, I think there's this technique. This technique is called like KISS, like keep it simple and stupid, something like that. Yeah. So like Einstein said something like, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Yeah. So just make it, don't overcomplicate things. I think just make it that simple that everyone can like understand and like make things easier for you. When you complicate things, it might look like maybe you are a genius, but actually it's not. It's the other way around. You are not actually a genius. You're just making things complicated. Yeah, even for the system and for human. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like keep it all simple. Yeah, it's something that really actually work. I think like as a data scientist, right? We might do give like when you are creating a model, it doesn't mean like all this kind of deep learning and this just complicated stuff is actually the one that work, right? Like linear regression or something like just logistic regression, or even like just a simple analysis is already work, right? So it's like doesn't need to have like a really fancy model for every use case.
Yeah, and you definitely see it when you deploy models to production, because like I've done it totally, where I've written like this massive ass notebook where I have like, I'm like, yeah, I'm so proud of myself. And then I go to the senior data scientist or the lead data scientist, and then they deploy it to production. And then you look at what's deployed to production, they stripped out like half or 3/4 of the code because it was causing so much like latency, and it was like slowing down like the actual delivery. So simple models in production are not always the same as models you build in a notebook. They're two different things. So the complication can really hamper a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I guess like something that you don't need to have like a really complicated some stuff. Yeah, just keep it simple. So I think like we really get all the framework, we really get all the structure that we could try to give all the listener right now. So I think it's like some kind of a good time for right now. We try to wrap it up. But just to summarize, yeah, we already talked about how do you start your career, how do you start when you are starting your career, you try to make it grasp what is actually really good for you, and then try to make it strong in your core. But when you are trying to applying to a new job, or like try to find a new job, try to make your personality shine in your resume or even in your portfolio, and then but try to make it simple, and also try to make yourself happy. So I think like that's really the summarized, but I think you want to add something else.
Yeah, I think from my own end, I would say what I got here is, like I mentioned, like try to explore, like Matt said, like I would say jack of all trade and the master of some. You get that? I like that part here. So just try to explore and try to like brand yourself, because branding is very important. Like try to brand yourself and like try to like understand what your local market needs. You get? So don't just follow a YouTube tutorial that is coming from someone teaching in India, and you are like maybe in you are like maybe in like London, where what's their like the expectation of them in India is to like maybe use maybe they use a lot of maybe like GCP, and at that point you are learning GCP, and London use Azure or like AWS, and now you've learned GCP. So stuff like that, I think just like know what to learn. And the next thing I got is communication is very important. Don't be that guy that just stay on the system, just put in 24 hours, and you don't like contribute to the community. You don't share what you do on LinkedIn. You don't share what to do on Twitter. You don't interact with people and you don't like apply for interview, because when you apply for interview, you know your weaknesses. You know, okay, the mistake you made. From there, you can strategize that. Okay, this is how I'll get better and communicate better. You get? So since that's like the summary of what I got from what Matt said.
Yeah, that's accurate. Very accurate.
That's very accurate.
Very accurate.
All right. I think that's all from our Datapodchat right now. So me and Give will come back again in the next time. We will try have a lot more guests, and we will try to keep you all entertained and also educated. Okay, thank you
Yeah,
all.
so yeah, and before that, like thanks for having like Matt here.
Yeah.
Matt Blasa, like I've seen a lot of like your post on LinkedIn. Like that's very nice. Yeah. So like you shared a lot of like I viewed your profile, I think yesterday. So like if you are watching like this video, one of our aim why we are doing Datapodchat is to like cover areas in data engineering, data science, machine learning, like areas in the data field in general. So we'll be bringing different experts in different part of the world, from the Europe to Asia to Africa, like different part of the world. Like you all know, like Cornelius is from Indonesia, me Gift I'm from Nigeria, and Matt I think is from US. Or like Matt, like
Yes.
where are you from? Or like
US,
like,
US, I'm from the US.
yeah, Matt is from the US. So like we're just trying to like make everyone involved in this, like diversity. Yeah, so also subscribe to our YouTube channel, like Datapodchat. Follow Matt Blasa. Like Matt share a lot of content on data science, like on LinkedIn to be precise. You can follow Matt Blasa. You just type like on Google Matt Blasa LinkedIn, like to put you up to Matt page. Follow Matt Blasa. Follow Cornelius. Follow me. You get so, and follow Datapodchat on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Yeah, thanks for having us here.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.